Hello there. Today we have Knock Knock, a 2015 drama thriller featuring John Wick. As always, if you enjoy, please leave a like as it helps. Let's get into it. We start off in a very nice house in Hollywood and shown family pictures. We cut to the wife Karen and husband Evan together in bed when they are interrupted by their two kids, Jake and Lisa. They bring in what they call breakfast, as well as a gift for dad, a clock with pictures in them. Then dad scares them away acting like a monster. He wants to continue where they left off, but she says no since the kids are awake. They have a dog called Monkey. This guy called Lewis will pick up Karen's sculpture here and take it to an exhibit. Because Karen and the kids are going to the beach on a little vacation, dad also has to stay and work. The dad calls this hard work. He's blasting some heat while just sitting on his computer doing some work. So hard his life. He's about to smoke some weed when someone knocks on the door. He opens the door and two women are soaking wet because it's raining. They tell him they are kind of lost. Their phone stopped working as well. He says they can come on in and use his phone. Instead, they just need a computer to check the right address and then he will Uber them. Evan is like, okay, sure. He brings them towels so they aren't cold. Then Belle introduces herself. She calls him a lifesaver as nobody would let two strangers in their home. Then he says they don't look dangerous and if it came to it, he could easily take them both on. What do you mean by that, Evan? Genesis says the driver was confusing the address. Belle says his English was worse than hers. She's from Spain, by the way. That's funny because Ana de Armas is actually from Spain. Anyways, Evan's wife is also from Spain, so he speaks about his wife and they call her beautiful. They begin to flirt with Evan. Well, I think they've been doing that since they came here, but anyways, they flirt a lot and start getting real touchy. Evan resists and tries his best and gets away from them. More flirting. More resisting. Evan talks about the songs that he likes and how he used to be a DJ, so then they play some heat. She takes off gum from her mouth, goes in for the kiss, but Evan is a little bit still resisting, so they don't. The Uber driver arrives. Evan had put their clothing to dry and now he's gonna give it back to them while they're changing in the bathroom. That's when they don't open, so he still comes in with his eyes closed. And then, yes. Once again, he tries to resist, but the resistance fails this time. They do stuff, then more stuff. Then they look at each other like, mission accomplished. In the morning, Evan arises from the dead, sees that he has a bunch of missed calls from Karen. He goes into the kitchen where he sees that they have caused an absolute havoc. They have been cooking, even the dog is on the table eating, and anyways he goes outside to talk to Karen, tries to avoid the girls, but they still cause lots of distractions and try to sabotage him. Anyways, the call goes fine. Karen knows about nothing. He becomes furious at them and demands them to go change so that they can leave. He goes outside for a quick smoke, and when he heads back inside, he realizes that they're drawing on the statue or sculpture. He dials 911 and they begin to laugh. What's so funny? Screams Evan. Genesis just says, to catch a predator. It turns out they are underaged and lied about their jobs. They don't even have IDs. So Evan is like, damn. Suddenly, a woman knocks on the door. She talks way too much, and although Genesis walking outside exposes what's going on, he still had to feel some gratitude since the woman finally shuts up and leaves. Evan is sick of it. He activates John Wick mode, gets aggressive with them, and realizes the entire underage scheme was a lie. So he calls the police. Genesis hangs up and tells him to just take them home, which he does. But of course, they don't actually live there and just walk straight out of there. He spends a bunch of hours cleaning up after these two brats. Later at night, he hears a sound, sees a picture frame on the ground, and gets knocked out cold by some sculpture. He wakes up restrained to a bed, and Genesis is putting on her makeup. Belle comes inside fully dressed with his daughter's clothing, drops her panties on Evan's face, and begins to ride him. Genesis then sets up a camera that records all of this. Later on, he manages to free himself, tosses Belle on the ground, walks outside, finds Genesis and grabs her by the neck, completely ignoring the fork on her hand, which is now on his injured shoulder. In world record speed, he is neutralized by the woman he said he could take on, but I guess he did, just not the way I thought. Once again, he is knocked out cold. He wakes up tied to a chair and crazy Jenny has set up an entire show. They put headphones on him that are connected to the music player. Turns out they weren't lying, they are actually underage. Whenever he behaves bad, they turn up the volume and try to make him deaf. They're running a show now. They're gonna ask him a question about schoolyards. The first question is, how far from school will he have to pick up his kids? When he refuses to answer the question, he gets blasted again. Their next question is, how many daddies have survived the game? The correct answer is 0. Next question, what is the proper punishment for a child pedophile? They give him a few options. 1 is cutting something. 2 is jail forever. And 3 is death. Remember Lewis? He rings the doorbell and texts Evan, tells him he is here to pick up the sculpture. The psycho twins take Evan's phone and say his nieces are home and he is gone, which Lewis replies with, okay, I have keys, I'll come in. Genesis opens the door and greets him. They walk him to the sculpture and they reveal it. It's fully drawn again with Sharpie. Lewis is disgusted. Out of breath, he uses his breather. He hears a noise and goes off to it, but Bell takes his breather. He finds Evan and begins to free him, but hears the sculpture being smacked. So he stops and runs to it. Tries to stop them, but runs out of breath again. They tease him for it, a breathalyzer, whatever you call it, until he falls down and knocks out cold. They begin to laugh as they are almost not involved with his death. They pick up Lewis's corpse and put him right into the van. Meanwhile, Evan is attempting to make a great escape, until they find them and take him back to the spot. The show takes its course again. They continue back to the question about the punishment. He begins to say how good of a person he is. She threatens him and says, "Is that your final answer? If so, you're about to go death in 10 seconds. So he screams again, "I'm a good father." Apparently the two psychos just want to make him pay for cheating on his family, although they provoked it. They begin to dig a hole outside with random shovels that they found. Evan picks up an iPad with his feet, places it on the floor and begins to call Karen. But they come back to him and find out. They leave him alone again and head over to a closet where they look for clothes. They come back and give Evan a bowl cut because his hair is too long. They pillow fight until they accidentally break another damn sculpture, except this one had a handgun inside of it. Genesis picks it up and tells Belle to untie him. After he is untied, they tell him to play hide and seek. If they find him under a certain amount of time, he dies. If not, then he goes away free. Leaving the house is against the rules, however. Then, quickly, he runs for a hiding spot. As they look for him, he opens the door and makes a run for it. He trips on the most obvious bright red object on the ground and is instantly neutralized for like the 3rd time in this movie. They tie him up and ironically use that same object meant to transport the sculpture to take him to his grave. They put him inside, sit him upright, and begin to throw dirt until it reaches his neck. They're about to kill him, but he yells in, "He will do anything." So they demand he calls his wife and admits to what he did. Instead of admitting, he yells into the voicemail saying, "Call 911. They knew he would fold, so they had hanged up previously. His completely non-threatening head movement has to be shown.
Kill me, you fucking fuck bitch, cunt! I'm gonna kill you, you fucking bitch!
They laugh at him, as they should. This guy had like 3 chances to literally get rid of them, and he failed all 3 of them, so. They let him ramble his final words, pick up the little, pedestal or whatever that is, and then count down to 1, and slam it right on his face. Except they didn't. They had mercy, and instead of slamming it on his face, slammed it next to him. Oh my god, I've been tricked as well. They go back on it. They actually weren't underage. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be 22 now. Happy birthday for me." And the other one's like, "Oh, I'm 18. They start to walk away, and then she's like, "Oh, I almost forgot." You see, this is where they didn't have mercy. They go on Facebook. They remember that video that she recorded? Yeah. They post it on Facebook, leave it on his face on replay so that he has to watch it for as long as he's there. They leave some nice music playing, puts on her glasses, they take Monkey, and they doze off. Bye-bye. A bunch of people start commenting. They're like, "Oh my god, my children are on this," and he has to keep watching. He moves the dirt, attempting to move the phone. As you can see, there's a like and a delete button. He gets really close to it, and instead of clicking the delete, he hits the like button. The house is an absolute disaster. After a very enjoyable vacation at the beach, I bet, Karen comes back home and has to witness this.